Hello, my name is Bailey Conrad, and today I will be presenting my project titled Woozles and Fake News: How Misinformation Spreads. First things first, what is a woozle? The woozle effect occurs when frequent citation of previous publications that lack evidence mislead individuals, groups, and the public into thinking or believing there is evidence, and non-facts become urban myths. According to Dr. Richard J. Gels, the term woozle effect was coined by Beverly Houghton in 1979 and comes from A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh, in which Piglet and Pooh follow a set of tracks from what Piglet claims must be a woozle around a tree, which then turns into two sets of tracks, and then three. Finally, they look up and see Christopher Robin up in the tree, who then jumps down and explains that they've been following their own tracks, not that of a woozle. So a woozle in media occurs when a piece of information is taken out of context and then repeated and evolves to something unrepresentative of the original idea. This research led me to my problem statement. The woozle effect furthers the dissemination of misinformation, allowing people to justify and distribute their own beliefs. In order to explore this problem, I present to you my roadmap. First, I will go through my literature review. Then, after reviewing the literature, I will present my hypothesis. Then I will explain my research design and methods. Then I will discuss the data I collected and the analysis of that data. Then I will present my conclusions from the collected data. Then I will discuss the limitations of my research and offer suggestions for future research. For my literature review, I examined a chapter from Dr. Richard J. Gell's book, Intimate Violence, entitled The Woozle Effect, which opens up a recap from the A. Milne tale I shared with you earlier. He then offers 3 examples of woozles and their evolution. The first example discusses the work of Dr. C. Henry Kempe and his research on battered child syndrome, in which he quotes Dr. Kempe's comment that it is likely that the battered child syndrome will be found to be a more frequent cause of death than well-recognized diseases such as leukemia and cystic fibrosis. As the woozle evolves, first the "if it is likely" is dropped. Then it changes to say child abuse is the 5th most common cause of death, and now the woozle, or accepted fact from poorly quoted sources, is that child abuse is as deadly as some diseases as leukemia and cystic fibrosis. For the second example, he discusses his own work in which a statistic of violence in married homes changes from 55% to 1 in 5 because of the methods used in his experiments. His final example discusses how a rise in public awareness of an issue led to the perception that the actual problem had increased. I then examined an article titled The Woozle Effect by Colleen Sharon, in which she states that the woozle effect has become known as evidence by citation because people often use phrases such as the evidence suggests or the evidence shows to prove their point. She claims that the woozle effect occurs everywhere from mainstream media to news sources to books, both fiction and nonfiction. As an example, she presents the Crayola scent study, which I will discuss later in my research design. After reviewing the literature, I developed my hypothesis. People who read false stories that support their previously held beliefs are more likely to support or believe the false story and/or spread it, contributing to the woozle effect and furthering the spread of misinformation. On to my research design. In order to test my hypothesis, I hoped to find an article or post that referenced false or disproven story as fact. My dependent variable will be the woozle or the false story, and my independent variable will be the woozle or the false story, and my dependent variable will be comments or reactions to the article. I will measure this based on the number of comments on the post or article. I will also measure the number of believers versus non-believers, determine whether or not they spread the misinformation, and I will also look to see if any of the commenters included evidence to support or disprove the information in the post. For my data collection, I looked at a Facebook post on the official Crayola page that references the Crayola scent study I mentioned earlier. The study does not actually exist. If one attempts to search for this study, only results referencing the study will appear, not the study itself. So to measure and analyze the effect of this woozle, I looked at the top 60 comments on this post. Here are some examples of the comments that I looked at. On your left, you will see examples of comments that support the woozle, such as, "Smells like a childhood field trip." On the other, we see examples of comments that do not support the claim, such as, "Oh boy, I can't even remember what they smell like." Once I had collected the data, I organized and analyzed it. Of the 60 comments I looked at, 55% supported the claim, 5% did not support the claim, and 40% seemed neutral in nature based on lack of mention of smell or memory in the comment. Of the 60 comments, there were 37 total mentions of the word smell or smells, and 28 comments that both supported the claim and mentioned the word smell. There was also only one comment that provided evidence, and it supported the claim in the post. Also, only one commenter also chose to share the post, but their comment was categorized as neutral because it does not mention a positive memory or the word smell in the comment. I also wanted to note that 95% of commenters were female, which is not representative of the actual active Facebook demographic of 55% being female, based on information gathered from Statista.com. Now, what does this information show us? Even though plenty of people showed support for the claim, surprisingly few actually shared it, showing that they did not intend to spread their beliefs. Also, people who had memories of Crayola crayons or loved their smell were more likely to support their claim, most likely because it supported their previously held beliefs. The analysis of the collected data only helps to support half of my original hypothesis, since not many people shared the post. Now for my limitations. Due to the availability of information today, though Woozles can spread more quickly, it can also be debunked more easily as people have more access to information. Also, I was limited in my data analysis because I could not break down the demographics from more than gender. Privacy settings also created a roadblock because Facebook informed me that some shares would not be visible because of privacy settings. This means that even though I only matched one comment to one share, more people might have shared the post, but I do not have access to that information. Next, I had difficulty categorizing some comments due to the ambiguous statements made therein. And lastly, I was pressed for time, being as this is only a semester-long class. As for future research, I'd like to conduct surveys in which people are presented with a Woozle and asked various questions about their reactions to the Woozle. And here's my works cited. Thank you.